Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into an epic journey that connects blood-soaked ancient battlefields directly to the hidden mechanics of the language we're using right now. We're going to bridge the gap between Spartan warriors, Roman orators, and the everyday words you and I use all the time. Let's get into it.
Section 1. Fighting in the Shade.
So to really grasp the weight of the language we're analyzing today, we need to set the scene with one of the most legendary historical battles of all time. Picture this. It's August 480 BC. Spartan king Leonidas is standing with a relatively tiny Greek force, just 7,000 men. They're holding the narrow coastal pass at Thermopylae, and bearing down on them, the invading Persian king Xerxes I, with his famously massive army. The odds here were literally absurd. Now, according to the Greek historian Herodotus, a Spartan soldier gets warned about just how huge this Persian force really is. He's told that when the Persians fire their bows, there will be so many arrows in the sky that they'll blot out the sun.
Now, talk about ice-cold defiance. Completely unfazed by the threat of total darkness and, impending death, the Spartan just replies, "So much the better. We will fight in the shade." It is the ultimate historical punchline. It's brave, it's entirely fatalistic, and it's a statement of absolute, unwavering certainty about exactly what they're going to do next.
And that brings us to this incredibly iconic translation, in umbra igitur. This is the famous Latin translation of that Spartan quote. And it brilliantly illustrates how the Romans actually engineered their own language to express that exact same kind of absolute, unbreakable certainty about the future.
Section 2. Mastering the future tense.
Okay, so to really understand how this defiant statement works, we need to look under the hood of the Latin language. We're going to focus on one specific word from that quote, one that unlocks the mechanics of what grammarians call the first conjugation future tense. That crucial word is pugnabimus, which translates directly to "we will fight." It's brilliant because the single word perfectly packages the subject we, the future action will, and the verb fight, all into one tight, powerful piece of vocabulary. Let's break down exactly how the Romans built this and how you can spot that formula.
Let's look at how this builds across this wonderfully structured table. Here we're looking at the future tense of the present stem ama, meaning to love. Look at how flawlessly logical this is. In the first person singular, you've got amabo for I will love. Plural, amabimus for we will love. Then the second person gives us amabis for you will love, and amabitis for you all will love. And finally, the third person is amabit for he, she, or it will love, and amabunt for they will love. You can literally see how these future tense endings lock right onto that present stem. So just like amabimus means we will love, our Spartan pugnabimus means we will fight.
Now, if you were paying close attention to that table, you probably noticed a recurring theme. The future tense sign is be. This simple two-letter combo is your core structural building block. Basically, whenever you see that be added to a present stem, it is a massive signal flag waving at you, letting you know that the action is definitely happening in the future. It's the very core of endings like bimus and bitis.
Well, actually, scratch that. There are two tiny exceptions you should know about, just so you aren't caught off guard. First, the I drops out entirely from the first-person singular, which is why it's amabo and not amabio. Second, that I shifts to a you in the third-person plural, which gives us amabunt instead of amabint. Language is wonderfully human, right? So it always has these quirky little inconsistencies. But the overall structure, still highly predictable.
And if you want an absolute game changer for memorizing this, here is a brilliant little mnemonic trick. Just look at the vowels. The future tense sign is by, and the English helping verb is will. Notice how they both share the vowel I? Now contrast that with the imperfect tense sign, which is ba, matching up with the English helping verb was. They both share the vowel a. So by goes with will, and ba goes with was. It is incredibly simple, but I promise you, it'll cement this grammar into your long-term memory for sure.
Section 3. Latin vocabulary in English.
All right, now that we've seen how the Romans predicted the future, let's talk about how their language predicted our present. We're going to look at how these ancient Latin roots from the first conjugation are hiding right in plain sight in our everyday modern English. Check out this list of direct connections. Some of them hit the nail on the head right away, like adoro, meaning I adore, leading straight to adoration. But take a closer look at ambulo, which means I walk. Now you might be wondering, how on earth did a word for walking turn into our modern word ambulance? Well, early ambulances were literally walking hospitals. They were moving medical units that walked right out onto the battlefield to grab the wounded. Pretty wild, right? We also have habito, meaning I live in, giving us habitat. Judico, I judge, giving us judicious, and laboro, I work, which is the literal root of laboratory, a place where work gets done.
And the list just keeps going. It really shows how foundational this stuff is. Libero, meaning I set free, is the root of our word liberty. Navigo, I sail, steers straight into navigator. Occupo, I seize, is the direct ancestor of occupy. We get salutation from saluto, meaning I greet, and supero, meaning I overcome or surpass, gives us the word superior. These absolutely aren't just dead, dusty old words. They are the active building blocks for how we talk about freedom, travel, dominance, and just everyday interaction.
Section 4. The Legacy of Cicero.
So to bring this whole narrative full circle, let's jump back to our Spartan warriors in the shade. We need to talk about the heavyweight historical figure who actually translated that quote into Latin for us in the first place. I'm talking about Marcus Tullius Cicero, who lived from 106 to 43 BC. Honestly, it's hard to overstate his historical footprint. Cicero was a philosopher, a massive political player during the chaotic fall of the Roman Republic, and he is widely considered Rome's greatest orator. He mastered the Latin language to such a degree that his specific style became the absolute gold standard for centuries. And Cicero didn't just casually drop this Spartan quote in passing. He recorded it in a major philosophical work. The specific source is Cicero's Tusculan Disputations, section 110 to be exact. He wrote these books to popularize Greek philosophy in Rome, which makes perfect sense as to why he'd highlight a famous moment of Greek bravery at Thermopylae and then translate their sheer defiance into perfect, structurally sound Latin. But here's the kicker. The story doesn't just end with Cicero in ancient Rome. Get this. In Umbra igitur pugnabimus isn't just some grammar exercise stuck in a textbook. Today, thousands of years after it was shouted by a Spartan, and centuries after Cicero translated it, this exact Latin phrase is actively used right now as the official motto of the 1st Artillery Detachment of the United States Army. No way, right? It's still being used. Which leaves us with this final thought. Just think about this incredible chain of human history we just traced. How does an ancient Spartan insult, thrown down on a battlefield in 480 BC, and translated by Rome's greatest orator hundreds of years later, continue to directly shape the vocabulary we speak, from ambulances to liberty, and serve as a living motto that inspires military detachments today? It really goes to show that language is never just about memorizing rules and tables. It's the living, breathing memory of human history. I hope this explainer gave you a totally new lens for looking at the words you use every single day. Until next time, keep exploring the roots of everything around you.